Hi everyone, and welcome to the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon News Podcast for Monday, April 28th. I am Ed from BourbonObsessed.com, also known on Instagram as Bourbon_Obsessed. We will now have a new episode of our podcast weekly, alternating every other week between the Bourbon News Podcast and the Bourbon Releases News Podcast. My usual co-host, friend, and bourbon aficionado, Dean Langdon, could not join me this week, so my wonderful wife, Karen, has stepped in as today's co-host. Karen, happy to have you with me today. Would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Ed. Well, we've been in Kentucky since 2010, and it was shortly thereafter that we kind of both got bit by the bourbon bug. You enjoying the bourbon and visiting distilleries, and myself really enjoying the distilleries, their history, and really the science of distilling. So I have procured a great deal of your bourbon since that time, and still enjoy doing that. It's always a lot of fun. So while I don't drink really at all, but I certainly enjoy the distilleries, the stories, and really the people in bourbon are fantastic. So,
yep, and Karen's actually one of the most knowledgeable people in bourbon that I've met, probably the most knowledgeable non-drinker. But,
thanks, Ed.
So we'll have some good discussions about the news today. So let's dive into our first story. So the Garrard County Distilling Company saga continues. The distillery, which opened in January 2024 and ceased operations less than a year later, has been placed into emergency receivership following lawsuits revealing over $28 million in debt. Truist Bank, the distillery's largest creditor, filed suit claiming more than $26 million is owed due to loan defaults and delinquencies. Aurora Management Partners has been appointed by the courts to oversee the distillery's operations and assets with the authority to pursue bankruptcy or liquidation. The $250 million distillery was once one of Kentucky's largest new builds, producing sourced whiskey under the All Nations brand, with plans to distill for its own brands as well as serve as a contract distillery. What do you think of that, Karen?
Well, I think it's very sad. As I was looking over some of the history in Garrard County, that town had been dry since Prohibition until 2023. And it turns out Garrard County Distilling had been working on that distillery before the law was actually changed, anticipating that they would be able to get the law changed and be able to distill there in Garrard County, as they did. So I think it's so sad that distillery has not worked out. I'm hopeful that perhaps maybe somebody can step in and take over. But it's, not sad for just the distillery, but the folks that they hired. They hired a number of folks. It was a huge place. Basically, it was, I think we had toured there a while back, and it was dual distillation systems, two partner distillation systems that could run at the same time. And now all of that just sits along with, they'd had about 17,000 barrels that they had purchased that they had sourced so they could start releasing whiskey before their own was done. So that's all sitting there. So it's really kind of a big letdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know exactly what happened. And that's the thing about all of these distillery bankruptcies and layoff things that we've been hearing so much about lately, is it's just very sad for the people that actually work there who have nothing to do with the financial part behind it, which has led to the difficulties. Right. And all the people we met there were very nice. And, I was very impressed by that. You didn't taste it, but their new make that they were making for a variety of different mash bills, they were all quite good. And honestly, I've enjoyed the All Nations bourbons as well. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of talent there, and they're producing good product. And frankly, the distillery itself is very cool. Those parallel distilling lines is like nothing else I've ever seen, going all the way from the grain mills all the way through. They didn't converge again until they got to barreling. So separate stills, separate doublers, separate everything.
Yeah. Separate
rooms of fermenters. I mean, it was quite impressive. So it is very sad. And we don't know, everything that led to the economic problems.
Well, it was interesting as I was doing some reading. They had actually not been they'd been in default on their loans since January of this year. So they were about 4 to 5 months behind in their loan payments, and which is why they went into receivership. They had been delinquent in taxes as well, their property tax, which is never good.
No.
The folks that started that distillery were not Kentucky folks. They, I believe most of them were from Georgia, different companies, a couple different companies in Georgia. So whether they didn't
Staghorn was the parent company.
Right, Staghorn Spirits, but maybe they didn't know the distilling business quite as well as they thought they did. Plus, whiskey's having a little bit of a lull at the moment. Other places have laid off and such. So, it's a shame. We hope that I certainly hope that distillery doesn't go to by the wayside.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's hard to believe a brand new distillery with all brand new equipment would just go to ruins. But yeah, I mean, we don't know how their loans were structured. What we do know is, a lot of companies have taken out loans against their barrel inventory, and as barrel prices have dropped, their inventory has decreased in value, making it so they could no longer back the loans. And then, of course, a distillery that's not distilling is not creating any new product. So, add the two together, and you run into.
And they had not been distilling for some time, it turns out.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody really knew that, but yeah.
So it's unfortunate, and we'll have to see how it pans out. Hopefully some good can come of it.
Fingers crossed.
At least hopefully the people get other jobs or hired back on when that thing gets started up again.
Sure.
So our next story is about Nelson's Greenbrier Distillery. So they're owned by Constellation Brands, and they've laid off approximately 15 out of 19 of their production employees, including the general manager, due to, as they say, shifting consumer and industry dynamics. The distillery, which produces Nelson's Greenbrier Tennessee whiskey and Nelson Brothers bourbon, will otherwise continue operations, including its restaurant, bar, events, tours, and tastings. The future of the distillery operations is uncertain, however. So, as I read it, it sounds like it's really just the distilling operations that have stopped, and they're going to continue. They had recently remodeled and built like a large restaurant and entertainment spaces and things like that. I read that as that's going to continue. It's just the distilling that's going to stop. But I don't know. You may know more.
Well, from what I was reading, yes, they're certainly focusing on hospitality. They built a huge new bar, the restaurant. There are boardroom type rooms for event space and such. We had seen that, but
yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah, it is gorgeous. Clearly, they're focusing on that. But the two brothers that started the brand or bought the brand back to life because it was a family brand, as it turns out. Neither one of those are any longer with the company. Andy, who was the head distiller, left in 2024, and he is now he's working at Big Thirst, the marketing consultation company. He's doing that. Charlie had left in 2023. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing, but neither one of the brothers now is associated. They were completely bought out by Constellation in 2019. So yeah, definitely their focus is on hospitality. I mean, not the entire production crew was laid off. It turns out when Andy left last year, head distiller Andy Nelson, distiller from Copper and Kings, took over head distilling duties at Nelson Greenbrier. He was able to do that because Copper and Kings in Louisville, Kentucky, is also owned by Constellation. So
High West too, right?
And High West is also one of their distilleries. But so he was doing double duty, and his name is Brandon O'Daniel. Not sure, couldn't find any information if he's still one of those folks that's still involved in the production. I mean, their production was never enough to create for Belle Meade both and Nelson Greenbrier brand. Correct?
Well, they never created for Belle Meade.
Right,
so
but I mean...
Belle Meade was their source brand that they started with.
But I thought they still had to source for...
as far as I know.
Yeah, for the Nelson Greenbrier brand also, so...
Yeah, well, not all of it. I think the Tennessee whiskey one is all their own distillate. But all the other ones that were the blends that were similar to what the Belle Meade bourbons were, those still had sourced components. And I had heard somewhere that one of the brothers had taken the Belle Meade brand with him. Now, I have no idea if there's any truth to that or not.
I do not believe that is true.
Okay.
I do not believe that is true. I believe Constellation owns all of that.
Well,
yeah.
It's from a semi-reliable source. Yeah, so that's I mean, I think unfortunately we've seen this kind of thing happen before with these smaller brands when, the larger companies buy them out or buy a large interest in them, and everybody thinks everything's going to go well, that it'll still be business as usual, but there'll be increased distribution, it'll open up bigger markets, you'll have more money for expansion. But then we've seen this play out before where the original founders are soon no longer with the company. They gradually or fairly rapidly stop having much to do with it and then step away. And it's unfortunate, especially when a lot of the companies that this has happened to have been brands that have been well known and well loved really
right.
by the people that have been bourbon fans for quite a while. So I think it's very sad to see that happen yet again. I was fans of this distillery, and I mean, I think we're still going to visit them. We go there every year for our anniversary.
Their restaurant is
or
fantastic.
4th of July weekend.
Their restaurant is very good.
Down in Nashville, for anybody that doesn't know. So I'm sure it's still worth visiting. I guess we'll have to see what happens to the distilling side of it.
Yeah. Time will tell on that one.
Yeah. So our next story is near and dear to Karen's heart. So tickets for this year's Kentucky Bourbon Festival in Bardstown, Kentucky, scheduled for September 5 through 7, have sold out in record time. The VIP tickets sold out to bourbon insiders during the pre-sale on April 16th, and the 3-day general admission weekend bourbon taster tickets sold out on the first day of public sales. At this point, I'm not sure if this is even true. At this point, limited one-day Sunday sampler tickets are all that remain available, although they may have already sold out. Do you know?
No, they're still available.
And even the $7,000 VIP Oris President's Club tickets sold out the first day. So that's pretty amazing. Usually the general admission tickets last until August. The VIP tickets would have been gone. That's no different. But the general admission selling out the first day instead of 3 or 4 months later, that's insane.
Yes, Ed said the KBF is near and dear to me. For full disclosure, I run their volunteer program for the festival. So last year was my first year doing it, getting paid, which was fun. But I've been volunteering for about, I think, 4 years now. So
I have too.
Yeah, and Ed helps. Ed volunteers too. He's always there unless he has an event to go to. But the interesting thing to note, though, for folks, if you may have missed out on tickets, is that there is you can join a wait list for KBF tickets. So what you can do is, if you had tried to get tickets before, you had to create a Tixr account, Tixr account. And the easiest way to do it really is just go to the kybourbonfestival.com, choose the ticket you want to wait list for. If you want to wait for see if you can get an enthusiast ticket.
Which is a VIP
is a VIP. It's the lowest VIP ticket level. I believe it's $5.95. Then you click join wait list, and it's going to take you automatically to Tixr, where it's going to ask you to sign in, and then what happens is you will be placed into a queue when you sign up for the wait list, and it's on a first come first serve basis. And once a ticket becomes available, it will automatically purchase the ticket for you, which means Tixr is going to need to have your credit card ready to charge. So it will charge that ticket. You'll get a ticket, and then they'll notify you immediately. Please read all the fine print. There is a FAQ for the wait list. Some of the things to note, the big thing to note really is you're going to have to tell the wait list how soon do you want to stop the wait list. For example, you could wait list all the way up, for example, a week before the event. Or you don't want to let it go that long. You could wait list up, say, the event starts September 5th, you could just wait list up to August 5th. So if you don't know if you have a ticket a month ahead of time, you're just going to forget it. So check that out at Tixr.com And you still may be able to get a VIP ticket. People can sell their tickets back to the festival, and there'll be no doubt that they'll get snatched up. So,
well, if they get automatically purchased by the system, so I guess it pays to sign up to the wait list as quickly as possible. It sounds like it's first come, first served.
Sign up now for the wait list if you're interested. There's a wait list for all the VIP levels. I do not believe, except the President's Club, there is not a wait list for the President's Club. There is, however, a wait list for the Decanter Club, the Flask Force, and the Enthusiast. There's also a wait list for the 3-day general admission ticket right now also. So if you're interested in that, please do so. If you don't get a ticket, obviously your credit card is not going to be charged. This is the wait list. I was not familiar with it, but apparently it's something that the sellers of very popular tickets can add to their ticketing program when they're, doing it. So,
well, it makes sense because they're not refundable otherwise.
Right.
So this is essentially a way to get them refunded because someone immediately buys it, and it removes the middleman. So ideally,
well, it keeps the people at the festival doing things that they need to do instead of refunding tickets.
Actually, Tixer's the middleman, so it doesn't remove that. But it removes an outside party that could raise the price.
It makes it more automatic, too. You don't have to wait on anybody to do anything. So, yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next story.
Okay.
So, Four Branches Bourbon announces the appointment of Master Distiller Gregg Snyder as a strategic advisor to the brand. He will serve in an advisory capacity as Master Distiller and guide the brand's future limited releases and support innovation while preserving the quality and character that Four Branches was founded on. Previously, Gregg has served in numerous roles at major companies in the industry, including Seagram Company, Brown-Forman, Wild Turkey, Austin Nichols, and Jim Beam. His most recent role has been Master Distiller for Chicken Cock Whiskey.
That's a lot of years in the business.
Yeah, it is.
Gregg's been around the block a few times. Well, that's great. I think we like the Four Branches brand. We were fortunate enough to meet those fellas at the end of last year, I think it was.
It's like November.
Yeah, November. And we got to talk to them. What they're doing is really something special for fundraising for they don't have a specific nonprofit. They donate some of their profits to different military type organizations.
And first responders
yes, that's correct. So having Gregg join them to move them along successfully is good because they didn't really have anybody with any experience
in the bourbon industry.
Right?
I mean, they have a huge amount of military.
Militarily, they're
experience. But they are working with Bardstown Bourbon Company, so they do have the experience of Bardstown Bourbon Company behind their brand as guidance as well.
Right, but I think they needed a little bit more. They needed somebody out on the front line all the time.
Yeah, well, in their own business.
Yes, helping showcase their brand and making it something special. You enjoyed their first release.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you reviewed it. You really liked it. So kudos to those guys for doing what they do. We certainly thank them for their service. Between the four of them, they've done a lot and continue to do so in different branches of the government, I think. So that's great. Gregg will do a good job for them, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, it's good. We wish them the best and certainly looking forward to what's to come.
Yeah, what's coming next?
So our next story has also been in the news a little while. Buffalo Trace Distillery has made significant strides in recovering from historic flooding that impacted its campus in Frankfort, Kentucky. Campus cleanup is now complete, with restoration underway inside buildings which were affected by floodwaters. Limited retail operations are now located on the second floor of the visitor center. Tasting experiences are also now available. Check-in has resumed in the Free House building, and that's the building where everybody recently has been checking in. However, all visitors must make advance online reservations during the upcoming weeks. In anticipation of Derby Week, which we're in now, the distillery will be closed April 28th, which is today, the day the podcast airs, to return retail operations into the first floor of the visitor center. In addition, Buffalo Trace Distillery will soon be announcing details of an online charity auction featuring some of the distillery's most sought-after bourbons to aid in statewide relief efforts for those facing the difficult road of recovery coming off these spring storms.
We'll leave it to Buffalo Trace to step up and raise some money for their own folks. Just so people know, it wasn't just of the distilleries. You saw crazy pictures being underwater. A lot of downtown Frankfurt was underwater as well. A lot of businesses there, a lot of people's homes. I think it was over 500 homes were flooded. So it's
terrible. I mean,
it was very bad, not just Buffalo Trace. But back to Buffalo Trace, it was interesting to note that a story came out, I think, on Friday. It might have been late Thursday. They put it out on Facebook, on social media, that on the property, about a quarter mile from the river, there was about 250 pounds of stranded fish.
Yeah.
And so they got some students from Kentucky State. They're waiting, and everybody has waders on and these big nets. And they were able to round up the fish and get them back to the river. So they actually had a fish rescue at Buffalo Trace.
Well, I think there's students that were majoring in things related to that.
Yeah.
Not just, hey, you want to help us carry some fish.
Right. That's true. That's true. The distillery itself has had not only all their employees working for cleanup, but they've hired numerous contractors. And at this stage, the cleanup is done. What is not done is the renovations for the buildings that were damaged. So that's what they're working on now. So they're still not up to full capacity and normal operations, but they hope to be so soon, according to some of the last information that I read on Friday.
But it's pretty amazing what's already recovered. I mean, before this came out, we had read that the Blanton's bottling line was functioning again, and that whole building was almost
almost completely underwater.
And the fact they're moving into the visitor center first floor tomorrow, I mean, that was heavily flooded as well. I mean, it's pretty amazing, really. So they've made remarkable pace of progress. So yeah. Good for them, because a lot of people, I mean, aside from we wish them the best, but a lot of the people that visit Kentucky to see distilleries want to go to Buffalo Trace. It's like on probably almost everybody's list. And during Derby week, we have so many visitors from out of state.
Right, and there's no sense, if you do not have a reservation, you will not be allowed on property. They're not actually doing tours or anything like that. The most that they're doing is you can visit, if you have a reservation, you can visit the retail shop. They are doing some tastings. Yeah. But there is no touring at this point while renovations are still underway. So I know a lot of people like to go out and shop the retail, but unless you have a reservation for the next couple weeks, they're not going to let you on the property, unfortunately.
So no need to line up in the parking lot.
Right.
All right, so our next story is a little bit of a different note. The Kentucky Lottery and the Kentucky Distillers Association rolled out the Kentucky Bourbon Trail-themed lottery games as part of a new partnership focused on promoting the organization's missions. The Kentucky Bourbon Trail-themed lottery games include a $5 scratch-off ticket with 4 top prizes of $75,000, a $5 Fast Play ticket where players have a chance to win 50% of the current Fast Play jackpot, and an instant play online game with multiple prize points and a chance to win up to $250,000. They've also got a great second chance promotion, which I guess you can play that whether you win or lose. Maybe not. I don't know. The first chance. So have you bought a lot of tickets?
We don't buy.
Daddy needs a new pair of shoes.
Yeah, we don't buy too many lottery tickets. But what I wanted to know was, when I was reading it, I went to the Kentucky Lottery and was reading what this particular game promotion was. So there is a big prize. It is a SIP tours package for 2 that includes transportation to 3 distilleries and lunch, plus a bunch of bourbon swag, plus $10,000 cash prize.
I thought that was the prize that you get for that second chance promotion.
So that is the second chance promotion. The second chance promotion is you submit and it's not a winning ticket. I think it's a losing ticket, because hence the second chance.
But that's like a great prize.
It is.
I would like that prize.
Right. So you take your $5 scratch off or your Fast Play ticket. You submit it online. You can go to the Kentucky Lottery and it'll ask for a code that's on the ticket. That SIP tour package the I guess it's considered a grand prize for the second chance, is only available through May 25th. So you can submit those tickets through May 25th. So you probably got about 4 weeks left. And then they'll do the drawing for that package on May 29th. So it may be worth $5 just to enter, that.
Yeah. So all you're
tour.
saying is, in the next 4 weeks, I just have to buy a bunch of losing lottery tickets, and I have a chance. I think I can do that.
You can do that. Okay. All right, dear.
I have a great track record of buying losing lottery tickets.
So yeah, so that's fun. And then the trail, the lottery, the $5 scratch offs and the fast. I don't know about the fast play, but the $5 scratch offs basically will be sold. There was no expiration date on those. I think they just continue to get sold until they're non-existent. So
yeah, I don't know the average life of a lottery game.
Yeah, there was no. It said TBA under the date for that for the end of the game, and it wasn't May 25th or the 29th. So yeah. Well, good luck out there, folks.
We can probably speed that along by buying a bunch of losing tickets in the next 4 weeks.
Sure. Sounds like a plan. We know what we're doing after this.
Hey, well, our next story is Left Bank Bourbon has become the newest member of the Kentucky Distillers Association. The brand's name reflects the traditional route bourbon barrels took along the Ohio and Mississippi rivers to reach markets in New Orleans and beyond. Left Bank Bourbon is distilled and aged on the banks of the Ohio River in Kentucky. Then it takes a winding journey on the river to New Orleans, where it is carefully married into small batches and bottled. Recently, Left Bank Bourbon has opened a tasting room in the Logan Street Market near downtown Louisville, and we'd like to visit that one of these days as well.
Definitely. Well, I got to say, I was a little confused about Left Bank opening or joining the KDA. We were familiar with them from the New Orleans Bourbon Festival because they're based in Louisiana.
Right, well, that's what I found very confusing as well, because I thought they were a New Orleans brand, and that's when we tasted them first a year ago in New Orleans. Yeah. But now, I mean, on their website, they put both states now.
Well, it makes a little more sense. So it's all Kentucky bourbon that they're getting here, aging it here. And don't they treat it with staves as it makes its way down? I thought their bourbon was finished with special staves.
Not sure.
We'll
know more after we visit.
Yeah.
And I think it ages sometime in New Orleans, too, after the journey. It's not like it just goes down there and it gets...
Right. But it starts in Kentucky, and they also have a tasting spot currently located in Logan
Street Market.
Logan Street Market.
So, and it is open. Because
it is open.
I saw someone post a reel of it the other day, so...
You can go to kyhug.com, which sells different kind of distillery tickets and stuff. They can make reservations for you. But those the tasting tickets for Left Bank are available for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's the only days that they're doing tastings at the Logan Market.
And what's the other brand that shares that brand home with them?
Safai?
Yeah, Safai.
Safai is also, I think they both share the space. So if you can go to Logan Square, or Logan Market, excuse me, it is not super close to downtown. I mean, it's not ridiculously far, but it's not like it's not a walk from from Whiskey Row or anything like that. You would definitely have to drive from there to get there. So, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like an interesting thing to do. Yeah.
Not that we're suggesting you spend time on Whiskey Row and then hop in a car and drive. Remember, drink responsibly,
yeah,
folks.
so that's why you have somebody like me who's always the designated driver.
Yes, I highly recommend having a built-in designated driver. It's best for everyone.
Yes.
Well, maybe not the designated driver. All right, shall we move on?
Sure.
All right, so unfortunately, the next story is back to that trend of distilleries having problems. So LSD Lending, LLC, has announced a public auction of all assets belonging to the Devil's River Distillery and Devil's River Holdings, LLC, scheduled for May 5th, 2025, which is next Monday. Well, Cinco de Mayo. The auction will be conducted via telephone and is open to qualified bidders. The sale includes the distillery's equipment, inventory, accounts, intellectual property, and other intangibles. So pretty much everything.
I grew up in Texas, so I still go back to visit. And I had seen Devil's River on the shelves for some time. They started, I guess, in Dallas. In 2017, they did their first release.
Oh, did they?
They did.
Huh.
Yep. I did a little digging. A gentleman that founded, one of the co-founders of Rebecca Creek, decided to go off on his own and started Devil's River. His first release, and he's sourcing whiskey at this point, was in 2017. He really wanted an area to showcase the whiskey and have a place where you could have an experience. And he ended up moving the brand from Dallas to San Antonio. He fell in love with, I can't remember the name of the building there, but he found a great space that they renovated. Built a tasting room. They had a rooftop bar. There was a distillery, the whole works. So the strange thing is, I couldn't find any information really about the selling the business. I mean, are they actually in bankruptcy?
Well, I know. I never saw anything talking about bankruptcy.
If you look at their social media, they're
still posting.
They still act like they're in business,
right?
And I don't know if this guy's just trying to unload.
I don't know. I found this very confusing because it's not just like they're selling off a few things. It's not like they laid anybody off that we can tell. Yeah. They seem to be functioning, yet every single thing they have is up for auction. So
hopefully it's not a prank.
Well,
somebody put out
April 1st,
a prank press release. But anyway, I guess if you're in the market for some distillery assets, tune in to May 5th.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we can't find anything else about this. Well, maybe when next time we see Dean, he can do a little search into the bankruptcy records, but we don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so changing course a little bit. The James B. Beam Distilling Company has unveiled an exciting lineup of events for 2025, inviting bourbon lovers to experience the heritage, craftsmanship, and hospitality of the first family of bourbon. From exclusive tastings and bourbon-paired dinners to immersive experiences like Know the Craft and the Smoke Plus Oak, a bourbon and barbecue festival, the distillery offers something for every bourbon enthusiast. Additional highlights include the monthly Claremont Supper Club dinners with Fred and Freddie Know, and Oaked, a taste of Beam, and Horses Plus Heritage, a Beam Bourbon Social, which are going to go on during this week, Derby Week. So that's a lot.
Yeah, this is Beam always does some stuff for Derby, and so those are the two events that are the first and second. So those will be fun events. What I really like though is that Know the Craft sounds pretty interesting. That is going to be in September and November, and again, you could go to beamdistilling.com and sign up or get more information about any of these. The Know the Craft will be after hours. I think it's like 6 to 9:30, and you get a tour for the Know Distillery there, the small distillery on campus with Fred and Freddie. You get a special tasting with Fred and Freddie. Then you get to sit down to a 4-course meal with the gentleman, and then the gift shop is open for purchases for bottles for those attendees. So that's $350, but it's a pretty full evening full of activities. The Claremont suppers, there's 9 of those remaining for the year. Actually, April just happened, I believe, so that was this past week. Those are great. You never been a huge fan just because they're very cocktail heavy, and
well, the ones I have, other people have gone to ones that are more individual pour,
where you get to taste the bourbon. Yeah.
So I mean, just from my own personal preference, I'm a bourbon person. I'm not a cocktail person, so I like to have maybe one welcome cocktail, but I don't really love the cocktails paired with every course. I would prefer pours to be paired with every course, and I know they have done that at some dinners, but other dinners are more cocktail pairing. Yeah. So I mean, it just depends what you like, but I mean, everybody we know really, it seems to have
love them. Well,
love all the dinners,
the
and
food is
plan
good.
to go at least a couple a year in spite of the cost. So, ignore what I'm saying, because which is probably why they do all the cocktails, because other people seem to really enjoy it. It's just not my cup of tea.
You cannot beat the food. The food is always fantastic.
Yeah, the food is fantastic
at the kitchen table. We eat there on a regular basis, but also with the suppers, the Claremont suppers, they preview and showcase a particular release.
Yeah, they're usually about a particular
they're having. So, and you can check those out again, beamdistilling.com. And no, we're not getting paid for this by Beam. But you can go to their website.
But we would be happy to.
But we would be happy to. But you can go to the website, and it'll show the dates and what special releases it coincides with each month. So,
and if any interest you, you probably want to buy them as soon as possible, because they've been on sale for a while, and many of them already have substantial tickets sold. And I'm sure the ones that are going to happen around the Bourbon Festival, Derby, or any other time that there's a lot of other people in Kentucky will be sold out.
There is one the week of Bourbon Festival, so that one will sell out very quickly.
And then the other thing is, Fred and Freddie are at these dinners, so you get to talk to them when you ever get the opportunity to do that, and you get to hear them speak and tell stories. So that's a huge selling point, and it's certainly a treat. So,
it is. They're very fun to listen to.
So so the dinners are definitely recommended. And then, as far as the one that you were talking about, that one's the Know the Craft.
Yeah, Know the Craft.
That I think already had two that had happened this year already, like two in the spring.
Okay.
And I've heard good things about that as well. But the next two aren't scheduled till the fall. And I've heard great things about the barbecue one too, and I'd like to go to that one.
Oak.
Yeah, the Smokin' Oak.
Smokin' Oak. Yeah.
That also had, I think, it's got one coming up in May, and then it's got one in October.
Yep.
And then they had at least one last year, and again, I heard really good things about it. So, so they're all great opportunities.
Yeah. A good way to see the distillery kind of from a different side. It's pretty cool.
I thought the Know the Craft actually took you through the main distillery too. Did it not?
I would have to read it again.
Okay. Because I thought it has like 3 or 4 distillery stops. Like maybe Fred does the main distillery, Freddie does the Fred B. No distillery. But I don't know. But you guys can read it online. We don't want to take up all your time. And we got a few more news stories to cover. So let's just keep moving forward.
Okay.
So our next story is about another opening of a home place. It's RD1 Spirits is set to open its new RD1 Distillery at the Commons in Lexington, Kentucky on May 14, 2025. This 2-story, 10,215 square foot facility will feature a research and development distillery, wood finishing lab, bar, speakeasy, gift shop, and event spaces. Their new brand home focuses on RD1's expertise in finishing bourbon with wood from across the world to create distinct tasting experiences. To commemorate the opening, RD1 will release a limited edition 12-year Kentucky straight bourbon bottled at cask strength, which will be 121.1 to 127.3 proof, because there's multiple barrels, limited to 250 bottles. Each is presented in a crystal decanter-like bottle with gold lettering and housed in a black-on-black display case and priced at $799.
Yowza.
That is an expensive
That's
bourbon.
A pretty pricey bourbon. But nonetheless, just to talk about the new space. So the space that they're building, that's opening very soon.
Well, it's in the midst of a soft opening right now.
Right. But it's only 0.7 miles from the actual distillery district. You could safely walk from their old space, which is where Ethereal's there, Barrel House Distilling, James Pepper, the couple other bars are there. The pizza, Godfather's Pizza. No, who's pizza? Goodfellas Pizza.
And ice cream, of course.
Oh yeah, and Crank and Boom. Don't forget the ice cream. You can walk from there, and right across the street from that area is the Burl. So you could walk right past the Burl down that street, right over to RD1's new space, and it's kind of seen as an extension of this distillery area.
Well, they refer to it as extending the distillery district. And there's going to be much more there. There's going to be another entertainment venue. There's going to be a number of restaurants that are opening up. So it's going to be, and there's going to be apartments and living
Right.
spaces
Yeah.
as well as other businesses. So it's going to be one of those whole areas. So it's really going to extend
Like a livable, walkable area.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I'm excited.
No, we're going to be
I'm
super.
excited
I mean, it sounds like
to see what it looks like. I'm
Beautiful.
sure they'll do a great job. It'll be a nice layout.
Yeah, well, the new place is going to be the 2 stories with the tasting room, speakeasy, the distillery. I mean, it sounds like it's really going to be something.
Yeah.
You'll be able to overlook the courtyard where there will be the outdoor concerts and things.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be overall
Yeah.
really nice.
I'm excited for
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Something new. That's terrific.
All right, and that brings us to our final story. The Obscure Distillery, a Los Angeles-based craft producer, has filed a federal lawsuit against the New York State Liquor Authority, contesting a 2024 law that restricts out-of-state distilleries from shipping directly to New York consumers unless their home state offers reciprocal privileges. Represented by the Pacific Legal Foundation, the distillery argues that this reciprocity requirement discriminates against out-of-state businesses, violating the U.S. Constitution's Commerce Clause. The lawsuit seeks to overturn the law, potentially setting a precedent that could impact interstate liquor shipping regulations nationwide.
Well, more power to them if they can do that.
But doesn't this sound exactly like something that happened in Pennsylvania back when we lived there?
Yeah, I mean,
It was the same interstate commerce thing where people sued because they couldn't ship into Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania wanted to ship out.
Right.
And it was the same thing.
Yeah. All bets are off when it comes to alcohol. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but it sounds like it's really tough to apply any of these rules that apply to alcohol. So it'd be great. I mean, we know so many people, and ourselves included, where, I've purchased something online legally, maybe not so legally every now and then. We don't do that really anymore, but where you have to ship it.
We have never done that, folks.
You have to ship it. You have to ship it to a friend.
Thanks for joining me today, Karen.
You have to ship it to a friend in the state because that state does not ship, out of state, or in such cases it only ships to a handful of states, one of which is not yours. So, and then you get to pick it up whenever it's convenient. But it would be nice to be able to purchase things online from other distilleries, liquor stores. It just doesn't happen. So, and I know it's the age issue is always, I think, the number one reasoning that this comes up.
Well, this one I think comes up only because they want to protect their own sales in the state. You get that argument against the systems that eliminate the 3-tier system,
right,
because distributors say that they have more control over that, and in brick and mortar stores they have more control over that, and that's a whole other issue, obviously.
Well, I wish them luck. I mean, that would be terrific if rules changed.
Yeah,
I know distilleries would like that too.
When we first moved here, nobody would ship to Kentucky.
No.
Now it's like 35 states or something. I mean, there's a lot of states that'll ship to us.
Yeah.
Well, it's a small number that we have that reciprocity thing where our distilleries can direct to consumer ship to them. That is a small number. Yeah.
It's about 7 or 8.
But to be able to buy things from other places and have them ship here, we can get it from a lot of states. But when we moved here, we could get it from, I think, no states.
Yeah. We couldn't ship anything here. We shipped... I shipped a lot of stuff to my brother. Thank you, Trace.
Yeah. And he only drank some of it.
No, he didn't.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Bourbon Obsessed Bourbon News Podcast. Be sure to like and follow us at your preferred podcast provider so that you don't miss an episode. And don't forget to tell all your friends, too. You can also head over to bourbonobsessed.com to read the print version of my newsletters, where you can find links to press releases and full versions of the news stories mentioned in this podcast. You can also sign up to have my newsletter delivered directly to your inbox. While you're on my website, check out some of our over 300 bourbon reviews and over 50 distillery write-ups. Finally, I can also be found on Instagram at bourbon_obsessed and on Facebook at Bourbon Obsessed. Karen, thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have any parting words?
Bourbon on, folks.
Okay, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
You heard it here. Have a great week. Cheers.